really honored you to welcome this for our keynote speakers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
A great good afternoon to all of you. It's not the correct time to give a long talk after postprandial glucose level is high with everybody. And the eyes may droop, but I will have a keen watch on everybody's eyes. If anybody droops the eye, then I will ask, are you able to hear? So therefore, be alert. Now it's a great occasion. Thanks to the organizers. I should specially mention Shafiur, Nazar, and Pankaj, who all have joined together along with the Thai partners to conduct this ICFP 6th meeting. And this is a global meeting now. What started in Bangkok way back at the first meeting in 2014, where myself and my wife, Professor Jamuna Prakash, we were there. We are so honored to be here again after 5 meetings. And I think it's a great honor to meet all of you. In doing so, I would like to take you through a presentation of about 19 minutes. And thank you, chairs, for introducing me. But you have the freedom, don't forget to stop me at the 19th minute. Okay? Don't lose your freedom, otherwise I keep on going. So please stop me at 19th minute, okay? If I stop early, you get that 1 minute. With that, let me quickly go through. I have fabricated this title with the focus on the theme of the conference. The theme of the conference is sustainability, health, wellness, properties, and also, more important, fabrication of structure, understanding the structure of food and food matrices. So therefore, the biggest thing that one can think of in a symposium like ICFP is to talk about food properties, basically. So the objectives of my presentation will focus on computational data analytics to synchronize and at the same time use the best property of a food for its end product, but all this requires a powerful knowledge of chemistry. It's very, very important. Without the knowledge of chemistry, Shafiur always in his journal as a chief editor would never accept any paper without chemistry. So therefore, it's very important for us to do this. Plus at the same time, the functional genomics aspect with the biotechnological approaches coming up so fast, more faster than AI, has been very much responsible to understand the property, structure, function, relationship. And most importantly, when something goes below the bow, it goes into the digestion. And understanding that digestion for wellness. Wellness includes both mental and physical. To do all this, it is very important for us to know the shift in the food science that has taken place over a number of years. Moving from a basic nutrient composition all the way to the key concept of how to put the food architecture together. The scientists have tried their best to create an apple, but still we have to wait. We have to wait a long time because structural analysis is not food composition. We talk about proteins, fats, lipids, minerals, and vitamins. And to a large extent, avoid carbohydrate to otherwise we put on weight. So these 5 elements are not food, they are nutrients. Food matrix is a very different ballgame altogether. We need to understand that very clearly. Otherwise, we are nowhere and just looking at a composition. So therefore, in order to do this, there must be a different way to understand, and the food scientists looked at it from a combinatorial effect of functional properties and health and wellness. And then came also defining the architecture as a hierarchical structure, not the protein structure of primary, secondary, tertiary and quaternary structure, but from molecular nanometer to macroscopic millimeter. And that's what property all is about. And it should be also measurable using the knowledge of chemistry. For example, the structure of a food can be measured with enthalpic terms, entropy terms, free energy terms, thermodynamic terms, and we can simulate that with a very different way of simulating a spaceship in the cyberspace. So therefore, it is vital for us to know the prediction of structure and properties based on AI and of course nanotechnology. Many of you have spoken of that. It is also important that we can't really say we know everything because we have 10,000 years of traditional foods in our database. And what AI does is try to use all of it. And therefore we shouldn't forget it, not mentioning it here. And this distilled wisdom of observational food science is the game changer today. What good the traditional foods are given? For example, tom yum soup of Thai is a traditional food. It doesn't contain one component, it contains more than 400 components. And therefore, what each one of them does, how much distillation it has taken place over a number of years, and come to this level so that we can enjoy it today in the lunch. Therefore, such big data on food properties are yet to be deciphered, yet to be mined, a golden mine, a titanium mine. There are many examples like gels, emulsion, foams, etc. We still have not understood very well. Therefore, when we go to the pillars of sustainability of food design, today we are talking about food design, these lead to a pathway of thermodynamic understanding, and this understanding has the stability of the structure. You can create a structure, but if you let it stabilize itself and be the same structure when you cook it, it can collapse. In the lab you can make a 3D print, but if you cook it, it can collapse. So not everybody is interested in that kind of property. So we have challenges to go. Resource efficiency. We also have a plant-based transition of upcycled ingredients. At the same time, how structure can mimic chemical animal protein. Because today, the cost of animal protein is more or less 4 times to 4.3 times actually to 0.26, looking at the carbon footprint than the animal protein, than the plant protein. So therefore, the alternate is plant protein, which is more sustainable, which is one of Shafir and Nazar and Pankaj's theme of this conference. So to make it sustainable, we look at plant as an important source of doing such an effort. Food properties are the building blocks, what I call in the food culture. Food culture is not one day. As I said, it's more than 10,000 years old. And all this has come into the indigenous food culture, into innovative 3R or the fabricated functional food. Because unless it is for a function, there's no point in fabricating a food that doesn't exist. So we need to have a function for it if we want to really fabricate it using the new designer tools for the foods. But at the same time, it must be affordable too. I can't have a sandwich which costs $25, even though in US today it may cost $25. But I think it's not affordable for a common man. So therefore, affordability index is to be built in everywhere at every step, so that the industry, the manufacturer, scientists don't manufacture food and sell it. That is, they belong to the industry. So industry usable technology is very vital. At the same time, it is also important to have, people want some traditional lunch in the office also. They don't always everyday sandwich every day, traditional lunch. And I call it as the office lunch, which has the same rheology, same texture, everything as GMT. I'm sure most of you know what is GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. But my definition of GMT is grandmother's taste. So you would like to have the same taste as your grandmother were cooking, or your wife, or your mother, or your sister. I think it's very important to remember that flavor, that bite, that taste, that love and affection must be put in the food. How do you do that? Big question. How water activity, we heard from Ruth's talk on the water activity and so on in the morning yesterday, and the structural stability of the cloth rate structure, which some of us have understood partially. But at the same time, we have the combinatorial chemistry with the marvels of chemistry that has come into food-based approach with a focus on emulsifiers, for example, creating a dynamic interface between response to pH and temperature effects and so on. Why do I mention this? Because unless it's a food-based approach, tomorrow's sustainability cannot be a non-food-based approach. I just cannot eat this laptop at all. But you may say that one day you will eat it. I won't wait for the day. Today I need my lunch, right? So therefore, how did some of these examples have shown us a new way of manufacturing food, like microencapsulation, food ingredients in these terms of the basic properties of food, from where physical and chemical process demanded by the market was fed by the scientists with projects from the government, from the industry, from the academia, from many other sources of world source of resources. And in fact, I was talking to yesterday our friend from Brazil. I was in Embrapa and Unicamp, and we all see how it all started with a different international project. And therefore it's so important for us to seek knowledge from everywhere and not become a cocoon inside ourselves in what we want to do. Just what we want to do is less important compared to what the country needs. But there are certain things like survival of some of the bioactives in the GI tract. No, GI tract is pH 2.2, 2.0, 2.0, no bioactive will survive. But how do we ensure by encapsulation, by so many other techniques, to make this bioactive go to the villi and then get absorbed into the system? So therefore, the role of food processing becomes very vital. I already mentioned about 3D, high pressure processing, and we also heard from Rakesh yesterday on cold plasma. All of you heard from Rakesh from Georgia University in Atlanta. So it's wonderful to hear such characterizing new technologies, which brings us into high pressure technology and also cold plasma, which are tomorrow. But where does all that lead to? All that lead to what we desire to do with it, what the consumer wants. Without that, whatever you do, nobody will buy. So the consumer requires the ultimate top-down approach to make the bottom-up approach of how the matrix can be really put forward. In doing so, two case studies I want to just refer as I go forward to the remaining one-third of my talk is plant-based meat analog. Today, the moment you say that there may be so many vegetarians in this hall or elsewhere, you say it's the meat analog, a vegetarian will say, why should I eat it? Why should I eat it? Meat is meat, plant-based is plant-based. I think we have over-confused the system. Because a person who eats meat wants the texture, and he doesn't want meat analog, he really wants meat. But meat analogs are actually introduced way back. It got into failure, like dal analog, pulse analog. People want to eat the pulse, the millet, the legumes, and so on. So therefore, it's very important for us to define very straightforwardly what the consumer needs, rather than telling this is, when you eat it, you will feel the crunch of a meat. 90% of a vegetarian market won't eat that, right? I've never tasted meat, so I don't know what it is, that kind of a thinking. So we must look at sensorial profile from a consumerism data, putting into AI, putting into property relationship, fabricating a food using the chemistry models. And that architectural symphony of food is what Shafir talks about, food properties. And that's very important for us to realize. Second one is the dairy alternative. Replicating casein micelles using plant proteins and lipids is the challenge. But the point is, the world is huge quantity of milk. So we need to really, do we require an artificial milk at this point of time? At this point of time, value addition to milk is so important. India is number one in milk production for the last 24 and a half years. This year, almost climbing to 240 million tons a year. But a large amount of it can be really converted to value-added product, and that's what it is. So let us use the raw material, which is important. So therefore, my point is, even a fatless fat powder. Today we had the powder technology, which Yasin talked in the morning. I think we had the wonderful chair from US, my dear friend. And it's also very important when we look at structure and of the dairy alternatives. The protein is an alternative for fat powders and not just fat. A protein can give the feeling of a fat, but today people don't want fat, but they love fat. Now is the question, how do you give a fat? So protein can replace that, and that's where the Paediatrics to Geriatrics, the demand is proteins today. Eat more proteins as you grow old, so that your musculoskeletal system can support it. In doing so, I also want to take you to the bioavailability and bioaccessibility with a release of certain profile of sustained release, many times no release at all. So we eat, we drink, it's taken care at pH 2, but below that, no absorption. So therefore, we did hear from Yasim in the morning on micronutrient, you can give 10 times that dose of vitamin D, it's not absorbed. You are happy that you are taking 10 times more. So it's not absorbed. So body knows what to do. So the best way to look at food and nutrition complex with the property related is food-based approach more than pharma-based approach. Your nutrition should be food-based approach. Your diseases can be pharma-based. That is a different story altogether. But if you want to take care of nutrients through tablets, it's a very sorry state of affairs. Food gives you all the nutrients. So it is very important to be food-based and at the same time precision nutrition and targeted delivery of nutrient, individual physiology. When I ask you, what's your food for the last 70 years, what have you been eating? No, I eat what I like. But your body may not like. Your physiology is independent of my physiology. If the world has 8 billion population, there are 8 billion physiological demands for food. So therefore, you have to personalize the food. When we say personalize, we only personalize the tongue. Please personalize what I call as the gut, which is very, very important in terms of sensory perception. We are happy, we are eating our personalized food. But what about the gut microbiome, the gut-brain axis? And I think in here, sustainability is very important. Because you eat some food, you are happy. You're very comfortable, no bloating in the stomach. You're happy and you're both mentally and physically active. So I think personalization of food should start at the age of 5 almost. And test every food, try every food. Keep going and finally personalize by the age you are adult. And then you can be more healthy probably. I'm not a doctor, but the architecture of prebiotics, postbiotics, and also probiotics is the order of the day. Your 9 trillion army in the gut, you are the captain. There is no army in the world which has 9 trillion soldiers. You have in the gut. And if you use it, you can use it better. So it's not just dumping everything inside a sack. You feed them. And that is very important. Therefore, the fermentation kinetics, the oral processing of food, including the sensory structure and the release of flavor to the nose when you bite, all that includes when the salt to sugar without compromising taste. And I think in one of the other papers which Professor Jamuna Prakash presented on monosodium glutamate, she showed how MSG can reduce the salt consumption and still gives the same taste. So today we have to use science to do that. Let me go to the last portion of my talk on the future of food architecture. Sheffield talks about texture property, but I look at the future of architecture of food. This building is architectured in a different way. Challenges, clean label requirements, tomorrow's reducing synthetic additives. Synthetic additives, people are becoming very conscious after COVID. So less of synthetic additives, more market. This is the market survey. Cost effectiveness of advanced food structuring technologies in a product. In other words, it is so hard that you can't break it, but when you put it in the mouth, it melts. So people want and demand that kind of a structure. And therefore, it is good that those challenges are put to scientists like us, and which we are here to solve it. And in doing so, the future digital gastronomy will be AI-driven food design and personalized food structure. An apple for you may not be an apple for me. I require another food which has the same taste but a different structure. So therefore, this will also be driven in the food properties in precision, planetary nutrition, enchanted, and the word enchanted is very important. You have to be enchanted with food, like music, with regional and local branding. And tomorrow's global branding will be the local branding. So the last minute, I will be putting the conclusion slide. I put it as take office message, not take home message. But I changed it because many of you are not used to that language of take office. You don't take problems home. You take it to your office and solve it. So it's take office. Structural properties and important ingredient, safe food per package is equally important, an IPR issue and GI, and diversified food plate, a colorful food plate like the one we had in the lunch is so important, and it should be healthy and affordable, and at the same time, sustainable health from food-based approach requires a multidisciplinary approach. What are they? They are physics, chemistry, biology, plus physiology. Normally we stop at physics, chemistry, biology, but physiology. Don't forget food without physiology, whether animal or man, it's gone. You are not dealing with food at all. So my last point is that the innovative thinking can lead to safe and sustainable functional foods for health and wellness, from Paediatrics to Geriatrics. I think this hall has a 20-year-old and an 80-year-old. So what more do you want in this spread? So the food should be sustainable for all of us. And with this message, once again I thank the organizers, both from Thailand and from Sultan Qaboos University, where I was there quite some time back in 2002 and made the Oman 2020 vision document for food science. And today I hear from Nazar and Shafir that it's already 2040 vision document. So a great country, moving very fast. I congratulate the organizers for supporting this conference and making it a great success. Look forward for the next conference of the 7th ICFP, wherever it is, I don't know. Wherever it is, even if you have it in mood, I'll try to come. So it's wonderful. Thank you very much. Thanks, Chair.